seem like they've taken all kind of hits in training camp. Christian McCaffrey strained his calf. He's going to miss a couple of weeks of practice and the entire preseason. Brandon Ayuk hasn't been seen on the field since the team gave him permission this week to seek a trade. Then you got left tackle Trent Williams. He's holding out for a new deal. You know, over the last 5 seasons, this team that has lost in the Super Bowl didn't make it back to the big game, but still posted winning records. Only the Rams 49ers failed to make the playoffs. And our friends over at ESPN Bet have the 49ers with the second shortest odds to win the championship this season. So, Clinton, do you think the 49ers Super Bowl window, you see that thing closing?
No. I think that far too many NFL teams, frankly, consider their windows open when they are not. As far as I'm concerned, if you have not played for the championship of the NFL, or even for that matter of your conference, your window ain't open. These dudes were in the Super Bowl last year. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what championship window being open means. You have played for it or you have won it. And look, if you want to compare them to some other squads that have just as much to overcome, who believe their windows are open as well, the 49ers are in decent position this year. Now, listen, the Ayuk factor is a major deal. I do think that if you can't get him, if you can't keep him, that changes the offense drastically and also changes their competition in the division. But as far as coaching is concerned, as far as player experience is concerned, as far as skill sets are concerned, yeah, the Niners window is still wide open for me, for sure.
How much of a concern is it, Kmart? And now, listen, I know they've been in probably the championship game, was it 4 out of the past 5 seasons here? But you look at Ayuk wants to be out. McCaffrey's now injured. Your left tackle, your stud, he's not in camp.
Brian, I know you're not trying to steal my points, because here's what I would say to Clinton. Their window is not closed, but it is closing. Because you mentioned, Clinton, that they were in it last year, just in February, they're in the Super Bowl. When were they in it before that? Back in 2019, I believe, George Kittle stood on the sidelines and watched the confetti and said, oh, we're going to be back. We're going to be back. And then this season, they talked about, I didn't think it was going to take that long for us to be back. They are an all or nothing team. They are literally all or nothing. And I think when you are that team, when you know that it's not about us winning the division, it's not about us having a great regular season. It really is. Our season is now measured based on, do we get to the Super Bowl? And that is where the 49ers are. The reason I say it's not closed, because they have the talent, as you described. But when you look at, I said this yesterday, in the NFL, we call it champagne problems. When you have teams that have a lot of star talent, whether it's drafted or free agent guys, and everybody wants to be fed. And now as a GM, you're looking like, okay, who are we going to get? It's a great position to be in because you have the talent. You're in the NFC Championship game or you're in the Super Bowl. That is a great thing. Most teams would want, to your point, would want to be there. But it is very difficult to keep the team together. That's why what the Chiefs have done is so remarkable, because when I think of the 49ers, I think of George Kittle standing on the sidelines, watching the confetti, thinking, we are too good not to be back here next year. And they were not back there next year, or the year after, or the year after. And so for them to not win the Super Bowl last year, now you're not just looking at, not Debo, Brandon Ayuk, the potential of him being gone. And every day it goes by, it's looking more and more like he might be in a different uniform. Now you're looking at Trent Williams, who's not happy with his contract. The best left tackle in the NFL is like, I'm not paid like the best left tackle. Then the quarterback, who's making essentially what's like minimum wage in the NFL right now, he needs the bag. So when you try, if you're John Lynch trying to put all these pieces together, you can't keep everybody. And if you can't, the beauty of the 49ers is in their collective strength of their talent. So when you start losing pieces, that's when I think it becomes even more difficult.
I would say this. I don't think that window is closed because of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And I want y'all to follow me here. When I look at this roster, they have made a living on picks from the 3rd round to the 7th round in free agents and finding talent. That's another reason why Adam Peters was able to get a GM job with the Washington Commanders. Rand Carthon with the Tennessee Titans, is because they have an eye for talent.
Yes.
I always feel like you have a chance if you have a quarterback. I believe Brock Purdy is that guy. So when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers and the window being closed, no. Is it getting thinner? Of course it's getting thinner because you know, when you don't capitalize on the opportunities, when you have a chance to win a Super Bowl twice versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and particularly last season, of course it's getting thinner on top of other teams in the conference getting better. but I don't believe it's closed at all.
You make such a great point, Harry, because you brought up the names of Adam Peters and Rand Carthon. Where are they now? They got other jobs, right? So when we talk about what the 49ers have been able to do from a scouting standpoint, two of their top scouting guys, two of their top lieutenants are running their own shops right now. So that also plays into why I think the window is not closed, but it is closing. Because if you don't seize these opportunities, you have no idea when you're going to get back. And now the front office is different. The people that are responsible for helping you get a Fred Warner and a Debo and a Brandon Ayuk and all these guys, they're not there.
How do y'all operate y'all windows? Do y'all just let them drop and they take a while to get down? I open my windows or I close them.
You know why?
All these present participles are driving me crazy.
You know why? Because when you cover the NFL long enough, you see the teams that were like, they're too talented. And if they don't make it, when's the next time they get back?
So here's the thing. This one thing I do know about the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. There's going to be no one in that front office that doesn't have the same vision that Kyle has.
Oh, because yes.
Trust me.
Yes.
John Lynch is the GM. But Kyle Shanahan has the final say. So if replacing Adam Peters and Rand Carthon, they're going to be replaced with guys that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan trust can do the job and also has the same vision as them.
Yeah, I'm not judging the 49ers against themselves. I'm judging them against what would be other windows of actual competitive teams. And if I'm looking at the NFC, there is not a team whose window is more open, closed, closing, whatever it may be, than the Niners. That's my point about why it matters that they were in the Super Bowl last year, is that, sure, George Kittle might have stood on the sideline in 2019, but last year they were there. They are as close as anybody else, quite literally, in my opinion, if they can manage to keep Ayuk.
Okay. If they can manage to keep Brandon Ayuk.
They're in camp. They're there. I mean, it's not off the table, is what I'm saying.
Which team then you have, I guess, more confidence in repeating their success? Is it the Niners or is it the team they looked at, those Lions? Which one?
Oh, I'm more confident in the 49ers.
You're more confident in 49ers? Mm-hmm.
I'm more confident, but that doesn't mean they're going to get it done.
Even though, as you talked about some of these pieces that have gone on
here's
the way.
the reason I'm more confident in them is because this is a roster that had 9 guys in the top 100. Like you mentioned the Fred Warner, like you mentioned Purdy and Kittle and Bosa. On defense and offense, they're low. CMC. But again, this is a team where we're constantly talking about injuries to Debo, to CMC, and Trent Williams, the contracts and all that, keeping it all. I'm telling you, this is a talented team, but make no mistake, in that building, it is tense because they understand this is the window. And if you don't capitalize, that window does not stay open.
So for me, I'm going with the Detroit Lions. And culture is everything. I really do, with Brad Holmes, the general manager, and also Dan Campbell, the head coach, the culture that they have built in Detroit. And it started back in 2021.
Yeah.
And you look at the guys that they drafted during that time, Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, who's phenomenal, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Derek Barnes.
Love that guy.
These are key pieces for the Detroit Lions. So right then and there, the culture was shifted. Now, they planted seeds in 2021. We've seen them in 2022 on the back end of that season be able to make some noise and give a lot of people belief that in 2023 they could be that team. Well, guess what? In 2023, they was up on the San Francisco 49ers 24-7 in the NFC Championship game at halftime. Now, what I also love about Brad Holmes and what I love about Dan Campbell, they were very intentional on what they did this offseason. And that was making the defense better.
Yeah, the cornerback's position.
The cornerback position and the defensive line. Because Aiden Hutchinson needed help. So they went and got a DJ Reader. They went and got a Marcus Davenport. They went and got a Carlton Davis in the secondary, who is a Super Bowl champion, a veteran, a guy that can be there from a leadership standpoint. Brian Branch, I think, in year 2 is going to be extremely better than he was in his rookie year. Also, drafting Terrion Arnold. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, I can't wait to watch that young man in year 2.
Yeah.
So the trajectory that the Detroit Lions are on is unbelievable in my opinion.
So that is so funny, Harry, because when we just talked about, is the window closing or is it open for the 49ers? And then Brian turns to you and says, so who do you think can actually repeat their success? It wasn't the 49ers, you said. It was the Lions. So now you have you're more confident in the Lions, but you think that the 49ers window is still open.
Well, let me tell you this. With Brandon Ayuk or without Brandon Ayuk, I had the Lions representing the NFC conference as a whole.
Okay. This is what America. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about.
I believe in their culture. I believe what they have going on.
Yes, I do.
I believe in it.
I do too, because I was at that San Francisco 49ers Lions game where I watched the Lions go up at halftime and thinking, oh, Are they about to do it? And then I saw them not do it, right? But when I look at the 49ers, the reason it is closing is because you have teams like the Lions, you have teams like the Packers coming up with young quarterbacks or established quarterbacks who have already been to a Super Bowl. And it's like, it's not just about the 49ers. You have other teams, Rams.
I thought I said it was getting thinner. I don't know if
also
I said that is literally the same thing as what I'm saying. It is closing. If you don't capitalize, it is closing because you want to minimize them not reaching them. Kittle standing on the sideline in 2019, but that illustrates how difficult. It doesn't matter how talented you are.
They beat the Lions though. Like, and I mean that's the point. Is that like?
But they did not
the teams
get it
that
done.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that the teams that are there are good, and this is why I believe the Lions will repeat it because the ceiling is lower. I mean that's as simple as that, and I really like the way that Goff has turn things around in terms of how that career has gone. I say this all the time. Quarterback is the worst coach position in the league, and talent gets wasted all the time.
Yes.
And Jared Goff was a guy that had early success with the Rams, gets, Dan Campbell takes a chance on him, and he turns around and has a great season. The Lions can repeat what they did. Now,
both coordinators are back.
Yes, and that is critical. That kind of continuity we love. But this question of whether or not them and the Niners are on the same level, Kim, is the one of expectations where, no, I don't think that the Lions are going to have problems repeating because nobody necessarily expects the Lions to step up and just run to the Super Bowl. Expectations are a little different for the Niners. And so repeating are two different things for those different teams, even though they faced off in the penultimate game. So.
No, we'll see what happens.